Yes, we did.
Okay, I live in Clarkdale. We got 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went boom, crackle, bam, and came down. So that's so you get to know where I'm from. My name is Robin Prudhomme Bauer. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, and I live in Clarkdale, Arizona. I am your moderator this evening. We are co-sponsoring this forum with the Sedona Chamber of Commerce. They've been a partner with us for many, many years on doing candidate forums, and we're glad to be able to have them as a co-sponsor again this year. This forum is also being videotaped by Verde Valley TV for showing on Cable 1, Channel 56, Suddenlink, Channel 2, and it will be also on the Verde Valley TV YouTube channel. And a link will be posted on several websites. So if you know somebody who isn't here tonight, wanted to hear the candidates, they can see it online. Also, we have a couple other videos happening. It's being live streamed. This evening, and we have another video going on in the back of the room. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization which envisions a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. The purpose of this forum this evening is for the audience to get to hear the candidates on why they want to be your mayor. It's also an opportunity for you, the audience, to give questions to the candidates about issues that are important to you. The goal of the forum is fairness, civility, and engagement. I would like to briefly just introduce a couple of people who are helping me out tonight. First is the timekeeper. So if you think the power in the room is me, it's not. It's the timekeeper, Nancy Friedman. Nancy will be holding up the 30-second sign, the 1-minute sign, and the yes, stop sign. So candidates, you know what that's all about. So when you see the stop sign, finish up your sentence and we'll move on. Also, we have a couple of helpers in the back. Marie and Ruth, can you wave your hands? They have been handing out cards for you to write your questions on. If you have written a question, just wave it in the air. They will come by and pick it up. What our goal is to do is try to sort them just by topic and issue area. If there is a question that is directed to a candidate, we will be asking the candidate that question, and the other ones will also be able to respond to that question also. As I said, this is all about fairness to the candidates and to you, the audience. We ask that you write questions that are of substance, but of no personal attack or innuendo of attack on any one of the candidates. This is about issues this evening. A little bit about the format. We're going to do a pretty traditional format. It's going to be opening remarks. Then we have 2 questions that have been given to the candidates, one from the League of Women Voters and one from the Chamber of Commerce. They have had them ahead of time and they will respond to each one of those questions. And then we will go into question and answers from the audience. And then they will close with their closing remarks. Just a couple other guidelines for the evening. My role is to manage this as fairly as I can to all the candidates and to you, the audience. The order of speaking for the candidates have already been chosen by draw of numbers beforehand, so the candidates know which order they're going to be speaking in. Candidates are to be respectful of each other's points of view, speak their mind freely, but do not engage in personal attacks. The candidates will not be interrupting each other. The audience, lovely all of you, we ask that you refrain from applauding or in other ways demonstrating support or non-support for the candidates or the comments. It just really eats up time in a forum like this. The time limits will be observed strictly as I can, and we hope that it will be a wonderful and a very informative forum tonight. So with that, let's get on to the forum itself. We will begin with opening statements. The candidates will get 2 minutes each to tell us why they are running for mayor, their qualifications, the skills, experience that they bring to the position. So let's begin this evening with Pete Conrad. Pete, use your microphone right there.
Okay. Can we have a without the microphone?
No.
Not in that.
Can we have a
And you can stand up. Do you need to come to, do you want to come up here?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you. You can.
Thank you.
Can everybody hear me? There we go. Been outsmarted by a microphone. My name is Pete Conrad. I'm running for mayor of Sedona. I'm 61 years young, married with 2 boys. In the back there is my lovely wife, Susan. She's the love of my life. She's my soulmate, and I have no idea what I would do without her. Thank you for everything you do for me and our family. We moved here 6 years ago from Northern Illinois. I'm a self-employed business consultant for the past 21 years, and I've been a business professional for the past 35 years. I'm an avid hiker and outdoor enthusiast. I'm running for mayor because I think it's time for a change in leadership. I think the citizens are looking for that change as well, and that is why you came here tonight. I am a natural leader with proven problem-solving skills. I have new ideas and new ways to solve our problems. I will listen to your concerns and, more importantly, listen to your ideas. You can trust me to always do what we all agree is best for Sedona.
Thank you. Sandy Moriarty. Sandy.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, I'm not going to stand up. I'm going to sit right here. You want me to stand up?
Yes.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, you asked for it. Well, good evening. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber for sponsoring this forum, and thanks to all of you for attending. I'm Sandy Moriarty, currently serving as mayor for the last 3.5 years. I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington, where I lived for 25 years. I moved to Sedona after visiting, like most of us, as a tourist in January of 1972. I worked for a CPA firm in Sedona for 31 years and am now a self-employed accountant. After 46 years, I believe I know the community very well. I became interested in getting Sedona incorporated the first year I was here and worked on 3 different committees over a 15-year period to get Sedona incorporated, which became a reality on January 5th of 1988. So the city is now 30 years old. I was appointed to the first city council and served for 5 months getting the city organized, starting with nothing. It was a very different job compared to serving on council today. There was no city hall, no ordinances, no staff. But by the end of 5 months, we handed over a functioning city to the first elected council. In addition to being a founder of the city, I was one of the founders of Sedona Recycles, Sedona Wine Fest, and I volunteered for many nonprofits over the years, as well as serving on the city's Housing Commission and the WEDLU Task Force dealing with wastewater disposal. I stand for sound financial management, traffic improvements, sustainable tourism, protecting our natural beauty, more diverse and affordable housing, and changing state law to better manage short-term rentals. I just would like to continue to be the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Tonsich.
Good evening. I'm Tony Tonsich. I've been here for 27 years.
I got a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, postgraduate studies in Public Administration, been president of 3 homeowners associations. I raised my fantastic daughter in Sedona. She graduated from Red Rock High School, went on to be a lawyer and law professor at ASU. I'm running because what comes to mind is a saying from the Revolutionary War, actually, is all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Someone had to stand up and do something. I've been going after this for quite a while. About 4 years ago, I wrote one of the arguments against home rule on the ballot. I could see the direction it was going. In January 2017, I tried to get Brenda Barton to handle an SB 1487 case for the no-bid contract of the chamber and the gift clause that were being violated at the time. I have turned in a claim to the IRS about the violations of what the Chamber of Commerce is doing. The IRS is currently investigating that claim. And basically you can see by my actions, not just my words, that I'm involved in preserving our town, and I love this town. It's been out of control. There's a group in charge that is tied in with the chamber, the newspaper, and they're in control. If you vote me in, the citizens will be controlled again, and I want us to be the residents first. These other groups are pushing us around, telling us what to do. We're the voters. We have the option of taking control of the town, and you know, I tried other means. My last option was to run for mayor, so here I am. Thank you.
Oops. Thank you. Make sure you turn that off. Thank you. Okay. We're going to start with the questions that were given to you ahead of time. And the first question is from the League of Women Voters. We know that you have lived in Sedona long enough to know that there are things you like and things that you would like to change about living here. Obviously, some of your questions have been presented in your campaign, but we would like you to narrow the focus a little more. So, what are the 3 specific things you like best about living in Sedona, and what are the 3 specific things you would change about Sedona? And we'll begin with Sandy.
Okay. Is this on? Turn it on.
Now is it on?
Yes.
Okay. Like most, I was drawn to Sedona by the great natural beauty. Oh, you would like to miss that. Every part of it, from the beautiful sunsets and clean air, to dark skies, to the snow on the red rocks, and the range of wildlife that we share the land with, from javelina and coyotes to snakes and beetles. But as spectacular as it is, Sedona's greatest natural assets would not be the same without the people who live here. For it is truly the people who make the place. I don't have family here, so many people have become like family to me over the years. And that is what keeps me here. And third, Sedona has given me the opportunity to make a difference, along with so many others, as a volunteer for causes I care about. It has been a very special honor and a privilege to serve as mayor. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, to be sure. And it will always be a part of me. Thank you.
Tony.
Oh, was I supposed to talk about the other thing?
The 3 changes.
I didn't talk about the other thing.
I didn't talk about things I wanted to.
What did she have?
Sorry.
How much time? Hold on.
A minute, just about a
It
minute.
won't take. My hope is that we can all become more sustainable in this community in many ways, including more people getting out of their cars and walking, biking, ride sharing, and taking transit. I hope we can become more diverse in many ways too, economically, demographically, and socially, with more diverse housing, and both for residents and visitors. And third, I hope we can regain some of the local control we have lost so we can move forward with what is best for the community as a whole.
Tony.
It's really easy to say the 3 things I like, which is the same things that pretty much attracted everyone here. The beauty, the weather, you know, I like looking at the stars at night. The things I dislike are also familiar with most of you. The traffic. One of the things I recently disliked was all my campaign signs were stolen within 24 hours. That didn't turn me on. The other thing I really dislike is the waste in the city staff, and that's what's been drawn me to be where I am and study what's been going on in the city for the last 5 years or so, and to run for mayor. They don't want us to find out what the waste of the city staff is, and it's interesting, last year I asked for the accounts payable, and it was 78 pages. So I asked for it again the year and just ended, and it's 480 pages. I don't think they want me to find things. I found a really cool thing I'll tell you at the end of the presentation. The other thing I really don't like, and it's, we're supposed to be stewards of the land. Stewards of the land do not mean bumper to bumper traffic, does not mean trash on all the trails from too many tourists, and we've got that. The other thing that really bothers me is the city decided, well, we have too much wastewater, we don't want to turn the trees yellow down by the sewer plant, so we'll just drill an injection well. These are treated effluents, it doesn't remove the pharmaceuticals, it doesn't remove any of your cancer treatment drugs. I read the multiple-page report from all of the engineers that studied it. They don't know where it's going. And the city didn't want to ask. The city was given the opportunity and asked by other people, where's this wastewater going? They don't want to know. That way they can't be challenged on it. But we can't poison our planet. This is our earth and our home, and we're stewards. We're stewards not for sustainability of tourism, but sustainability of our home. This place, we're in a limited geographical area, and you can't have infinite growth. It's just a fact of life.
Pete.
I'm going to try this from way down there. There are far more than 3 things I love about living in Sedona. Let's start with these. Access to the National Forest, the Red Rock views, the hiking trails, the wildlife, and the weather. We also have the environmental and climate diversity and proximity to Flagstaff and Phoenix. With Flagstaff, the pine trees and the cooler weather in the summer, and with Phoenix, the warmer weather in the winter, and the desert landscape, as well as the features of a major city. What will I change? The traffic congestion. Eliminate the Sedona motion projects and the traffic congestion. Once we manage the traffic better and relieve the congestion, everyone's quality of life will get better for now and the future. My traffic management plan is to go to an automated traffic control system like is what's currently being used in other cities right now to relieve traffic congestion. Automated traffic control systems are the future of how cities and civil engineers manage traffic congestion. It can be accomplished at a fraction of the cost of Sedona motion projects, leaving those expenses in the city's increased budget, and be up and running in a couple of months with little to no road construction. Those who say it can't be done need to move out of the way of those of us who will get it done.
Thank you. The question that was given to the candidates from the Chamber of Commerce reads, tell us how quality of life, tourism, and the environment are linked, and what role do you feel the city and the Sedona Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau respectively play in balancing quality of life, tourism, and the environment? And let's begin with Tony.
That question obviously makes a lot of assumptions, and most of those assumptions are incorrect. I don't see from the recent actions of the Chamber that there's been any balance of quality of life. Now that they're really concerned about it, oh my God, they have to do a Sedona in Motion program. It's not going to accomplish anything. I've talked to a couple of the city staff, and they say, oh, well, even if it only removes a few cars, it did something. Well, what it did was kind of put up a smoke screen for a few years that they were accomplishing something while they let the traffic continue. One of the neat things they did was there's an election going on. Why don't we stop advertising in Phoenix for the summer so it drops traffic? We should not be advertising in the state of Arizona. I think the state of Arizona knows where it is, and the other problem is with the traffic is there's a real cool traffic study that they did where they pinged everybody's cell phone when they were coming into town, and they pinged it when they were leaving town. They tracked them all the way through town. Half the cars did not stop in Sedona. So all that traffic driving through isn't even doing anything for our businesses. It's just driving through, and that's the result of the Chamber's advertising. It didn't just happen. The other thing, the survey says that the people were happy with what's going on. That's not true. 33% expressed confidence in city government. 31% liked the overall direction of the city, and 34% thought the government was acting in the best interest of Sedona. The other fallacy you hear about the chamber is that they contribute 2/3 of the expenses of Sedona. If you take the 9% total bed tax and the 35% total sales tax, that's only 44%. That's assuming that the citizens don't pay any of the sales tax. So there's no way the chamber contributes that much. The expenses of the tourists far outweigh what we're getting from the tourists. And we need to realize that, and we need to take back control of our government.
Pete.
Balancing tourism, the quality of life, and the environment. The word in that question, the key word is balance. We are a tourist town, and tourism is the business of our town. However, tourism cannot run over the needs of the citizens. Too many tourists and cars make it difficult for us to get around, reduces the air quality, and overall burdens the natural resources of the forest. We need to repurpose and redirect the chamber and the city to develop programs that use corporate, public, and private partnerships to fund and execute those programs that benefit citizens as well as local tourist business. The chamber is a professional organization that should be given better, specific direction by the city as to how to serve the community, as well as adapt a new mission to change our visitor profile from day trippers and tourists to tourists and vacationers, leaving less room for pass-through traffic and visitors. People do not go to Vegas to see Mickey Mouse, and they do not go to Disneyland to gamble. Cities like Las Vegas and Palm Desert market to a specific customer, and we should as well. By managing who vacations here, we can increase the revenue for our overall tourist business while reducing overall traffic. That has worked well in Palm Desert, and it can work here. Also, the idea of a Sedona mobile app, suggested by Council candidate Noel Jillian, can direct travelers around the town who are not stopping in Sedona, the pass-through traffic. By publishing the wait times in Slide Rock and West Fork, as well as the drive times through the Canyon, we can direct that pass-through traffic to I-17 instead of through Sedona. The app can also direct vacationers to dining, galleries, shops, events, and other activities. That is how you support the local business and manage the overall tourism. That is how you change the paradigm of problem solving.
Thank you. See the power of the stop sign? Okay, Sandy.
Okay, so the first part of the question was, how are quality of life, tourism, and the environment linked? Well, most of us came here as tourists because of the spectacular natural environment and moved here for the quality of life we perceived we would have. Once we became incorporated, in order to have local control of our destiny, the city became the custodian of all, or at least that's how many see it. The Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with the city, is now embarking on a long-range tourism management plan to help balance three critical elements of tourism. Environment, to protect the natural environment, historic buildings, and heritage sites. Sociocultural, to deal with traffic congestion, overcrowding, and rising housing costs while protecting the economic benefit of tourism. And economic, to protect the thousands of jobs provided by visitors and the taxes the city receives to offset the cost of basic services, such as public safety, street maintenance, flood control, community parks, and cultural activities. To this end, the city and the chamber have entered into a contract with the Nichols Tourism Group and the ASU Center for Sustainable Tourism to develop a Sedona Sustainable Tourism Plan. It includes a random sample survey of Sedona residents, focus groups of all types, and a visioning session. The plan will cover transportation alternatives, marketing strategies, visitor management during peak seasons, and ideas on visitor education to raise awareness of our sensitive national environment and the unique status as one of the world's most beautiful places.
Thank you, Sandy. Okay, we have a bunch of question writers. You see this lovely little mess up here? Yeah. Okay. We'll start with questions from our audience, and they're all wonderful questions. Thank you for bringing them forward. The first one, there'll be 2 minutes on these first couple, and then we'll probably change to 1, because I'll try to get in as many as possible. The first question, and we will begin with Pete. We'll start with this one. Between 2012 2017, city staff has increased by 15 full-time equivalents. In the same period, the cost of the staff has increased by about 32%, a little bit over 32%. The population of Sedona has only increased about 1%, a little over 1% since 2000. How do the candidates propose to control costs? Pete, begin with you. 2 minutes.
Sure. So clearly there's not a balance there between the population growth and the amount of staff that's on. And based on the numbers that she just recited, it seems like the increase in the staff is at the higher end because the percentage of income went up greater than the percentage of people that went up. So that's something that we absolutely have to look at, because she is correct in that the number of people who live in the city isn't any greater. One place I think that we absolutely did a good job of raising our staff is with the police department. I think our police department was understaffed from the beginning, and I think they've now reached close to the correct staff. So I think we need to look at that as an overall picture of how do we go about managing the city instead of the city managing us. Or, as I've heard said before, it's a staff-run city. So it may be a staff-run city. Unfortunately, I think the staff-run city needs to report to the people who are elected to office.
Thank you. Sandy.
Well, the growth in the staff is not just due to the population increase, it's due to the amount of economic activity that's taking place. So I think the starting year was, I don't remember what, 2012 or something. In any case, it's coming out of the recession. We had cut back a lot during the recession on staff. And so after the recession, it was only natural that we would staff up again. We started getting way more requests for building permits. Things were much more active. And so you just can't look at just one factor and say it's all because of that. Pete's right, the police department was understaffed for several years. That's what happened during the recession. We didn't fill vacancies. But after the recession, we did start filling those vacancies, especially in the police department. So that's a major part of the increase. And as I said, other activity just necessitated. There's more going on. Taxes were increasing. We can do more for everybody when we have more tax income.
One of my favorite questions, I've been studying the staff for years. One of the most interesting thing that's happened recently is we had the community development manager retire. And we have an assistant city manager makes $135,000 a year. The community development manager made $117,000. They decided to combine those two jobs. How is that possible if they're both working 40 hours a week? It's not. So one of them wasn't working. Or maybe both of them were working, I don't know. We've got 3 lawyers in the city of Sedona, 3 full-time lawyers. Last year we spent $18,000 on outside law firms. My daughter came in contact with one of our lawyers when my daughter was representing one of the liability firms for a claim that from someone who's injured in Sedona. They just turned over their liability firm. So 3 full-time lawyers, and they turned the work over to their liability firm and contract outside firms. One of my favorites, so I was going to say this is a good time. You know, the Renaissance in Palm Springs is a very nice hotel. I don't know whether they have any state Meridian hotels. They're both 4 or 5-star hotels. Cartwright's Restaurant. So the Meridian Hotel, that bill was $914. The Renaissance Hotel was $486. Cartwright's Restaurant had a team building dinner for $603. So this may have been some type of team building or work study. The only interesting part of this whole thing was the date. It was New Year's Eve. That's how they spent your money, and they put it on their credit cards. They changed the reports from 78 pages to 480 pages to make it hard for me to find, but I still found it, and that's what I do. There is so much waste in the city, it's unbelievable. and I'll stop right now, but I'll cover more in another question because I'm sure I'll get another opportunity. But the waste is shocking, just absolutely shocking. I've been studying it for 5 years. I'm still shocked.
Thank you. Next question. Sandy, we'll begin with you. This question is, I'm kind of combining two, is what do you consider the mission of a Chamber of Commerce to be for a city? And how do you envision that relationship to be? And how do you propose to keep a vibrant tourism program while improving the quality of life for locals? So it's 2 minutes, so it's kind of combined together.
Okay, what is the function of the Chamber of Commerce?
What is the mission of a
The mission
chamber,
of the chamber.
of a chamber of commerce to be for a city? And how do you see that relationship, envision a relationship of a chamber with the city?
Remind me of the second, but let me answer the first part first. I think the mission of the chamber is the tourism. The chamber actually has two parts to it. There's the membership organization and there's the tourism bureau. The tourism bureau is usually the part that's the city function. And some cities, like Flagstaff, have in-house tourism bureaus. So they don't contract with their chamber to provide that. We don't have that. We could, but I doubt if we could do it any cheaper. We just bring it in-house and have to hire more people, and et cetera. So that is the function most cities have with the Chamber of Commerce. And the second part of the question is,
How do you envision a relationship with a chamber to keep it, and how do you propose to keep a vibrant tourism program while improving the quality of life for locals?
we're always improving the quality of life for everybody, residents and visitors alike. We actually enter into a contract with the chamber, which we work in partnership with them to do. We have discussions about how the money will be spent. It isn't like they spend it and then come back to us later. They don't. We supervise that all along. We sign a contract with them so that we know what exactly they're doing with the money. And the last part of that was
Basically, how do you keep a vibrant tourism program while improving the quality?
well, I
of
think
life
the
for
sustainable tourism plan is going to help us to do that, and that's why I explained that earlier, so I won't go into detail.
locals? Okay, thank you. Tony?
Yeah, that's, we give the chamber $400,000 a year to manage the city of Sedona, but it's not the city of Sedona, it's a chamber visitor center. We pay for it, but they only recommend chamber members. Now, the taxes that are collected are from all the businesses in Sedona, but if you're not a chamber member, they won't mention you. Now, that's not wrong, and the city council is painfully aware of it, and they don't do anything about it. That's just wrong. So let the Chamber of Commerce run their own visitor center. The Chamber of Commerce gets $2.1 million in other dollars. The last fiscal year, they spent about $600,000 on advertising. The other $1.6 million is on product development. What's the product development in a small town? I mean, that's something that, we're managing tourists. I mean, it's crazy. When we came here, this didn't exist. This only exists in the last few years, and we see the problems it's caused. We want tourists to come here. We want them to have a wonderful experience. We want them to be high-end. These people are advertising on billboards in Phoenix and Tucson. We should be advertising in Town and Country and Architectural Digest. We should be looking for a higher quality tourist. These people are, the way the chamber is managing it now, and obviously you can tell by your quality of life in the last few years, they're not managing it. They're not doing a good job. And basically they've failed. Such a failure that while the baby boomers are retiring en masse, this beautiful tourist town, the most beautiful place in the world, has lost 1,000 residents. I mean, that takes a special talent, and that's what both the City Council and the Chamber of Commerce managed to achieve in the last few years, which is frankly shocking, and, but we need to do something about it. I mean, I would rather that someone else would do something about it. Somebody needs to do something about it, and I tried every other action, and if you want to go to the back of the room, Lee, my campaign manager, will give you the verification of everything I've stated here today. But here, I was left no choice. If I want to preserve the town that I love, I have to be that somebody. I ask you other somebodies to vote for me and help me out because I can't do it by myself.
Pete?
So some of what Tony's saying is very true. We spend a lot of money on the chamber, and it is a tourist town, so you would expect to see the Chamber of Commerce have a lot of advertising, and I do think that advertising needs to be redirected. But you have to remember the Chamber is a vendor to the city, and we should manage the vendor at arm's length. There should be a partnership for certain, but we should always remember that it is a vendor-customer relationship. And when I talked earlier about some of the things like the mobile app and some of the other things that we mentioned, we can have the Chamber function that mobile app. It would be a better use of some of those funds and some of that professionalism to manage that app, to move people around town that aren't staying here, that aren't spending money here. So I'd like to see us take a good hard look at that. I'm not a all the way in or all the way out kind of a guy. I don't believe in throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think the Chamber supplies a valuable service. I think we need to look at how much of that service needs to be directed in dollars and in focus to bring it to our CR versus bringing the right to our CR, and what else can they do to help the commerce and the citizens in this town at the same time.
Thank you. Pardon me? On this question, hold on. I'll get one going here. Next question, and we'll start with Tony on this one. Or excuse me, yes, Tony on this one. What is your stance on home rule, and what are the benefits of a yes or no vote? Tony.
You know, I've given a lot of thought to home rule. I've been against it. I think I'm still against it. Home rule would be a wonderful thing if you had a frugal and rational city council, a city council that's working for the people. I don't see that. You know, from your December 31st New Year's Eve hotel stays, you can see they're anything but frugal and they're anything but paying attention. They're not paying attention on the staff. There's a lady by the name of Jean Jenks who's been doing a financial watchdog job in the city much longer than I have, and she's smarter than I am. And you know, there's a saying that someone also smarter than me said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So when I gave Jean Jenks the accounts payable from the last financial period, the 78-page one, not the 480-page one they pawned off on me just recently, she said, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. So if these people could be trusted with your money, but they can't. I mean, obviously, you know, that still showed on the accounts payable a $900 hotel room on New Year's Eve. How do you let that happen? You know, how do you in any kind of, if you're paying any attention to what's going on? I look through the accounts payable. I've been in business. These people seem to be like the dashboard dogs when the city staff come in. Oh, we can do that, okay. Oh, we can't do that, that's too hard. They say, okay. There's nothing too hard when I ask a question of my staff. You know, it needs done, they're working for me, that's the way it's gonna be. They're working for you. Right now, the city's working for the Chamber of Commerce, it's working for the city staff, and the citizens are a far distant third. I don't want to be a distant third with people I'm paying. I refuse to accept it, and it's up to you to whether you want to vote me in. And not only me, I'm one voice on the city council, but I need the other voices to have the vote. Otherwise, they're going to say, well, gee, that's business, not the way government's run. You want government, you know, you like the way government's run? That's why I say no to home rule. If it was, people were taking care of things, we wouldn't need that much money. You know, I can run the city on the no home rule budget. There's enough waste in there. It's shocking. It's just shocking. I can't, I only get a short time to answer these questions. But I could go on for hours.
Pete.
Well, home rule is the 800-pound gorilla in the room that everybody's been talking about for the last several months. And the state gives us lots of different options for managing the budgets of our city. Home rule is one of them, permanent base adjustments another, one-time overrides is another. I think under certain circumstances, home rule is probably a pretty good idea because it takes the control away from the state and gives it to the city. But I think you go one step further and take the control away from the city and put it in the hands of the citizens. So my gut would be to say, to go with the permanent base adjustment for the simple reason that the citizens can put a cap on the total spending. Now, the only way that that's going to happen in our town is if you vote no on home rule. Because if you vote yes on home rule, for the last 20 years we voted yes on home rule and never gone back and adjusted that base, which is $24 million, which I believe you can't run the city on. I don't think you can get close to running the city on it. So I think you need to find some ground in between, and the permanent base adjustment that's going to be on the ballot in November is about the same amount of money the city spent last year. And I think that's a good place for us to start. It also gives us a chance to relook at that budget every 2 years. It gives that citizen engagement and oversight that's missing with home rule.
Sandy?
Yes, I am in favor of home rule. As I said, I like local control. That's why we incorporated. Why should we let the legislature, the state legislature, set our expenditure limit? They don't know anything about where our revenues are. They just want us to put anything that they tell us we can't spend in the bank, which makes no sense. I've heard mention here from the other two candidates that we want a citizen-run government. We don't want professional management. Well, under professional management, we have never had a deficit, never. We have balanced the budget every single year, and we maintain a 30% reserve fund, which is higher than most cities. Again, I repeat, we have always had a balanced budget, no deficits, and a higher reserve fund than most cities do. So if you take away professional management, that just makes absolutely no sense to me. So yes, home rule allows us to set our own expenditures. That's why we incorporated, so we could have our own ordinances and have our own expenditures set by our local professional management. I just think it would be crazy to try and run a city some other way. You have council members and mayors coming and going. Oops. Woo. Is that mine or yours? Okay. I'm through. Thank you.
You know how microphones are. With that, I was going to allow 1 minute each of you to talk again. Tony, then Pete, and then Sandy. 1 minute.
You know, Sandy said we had a balanced budget that's required by state law. In the last fiscal year, we spent about 10 million of our reserves, so that would balance the budget. You can spend reserves and balance the budget. If you consider that balanced, if you consider that frugal. One of the things that got me into this was when I was president of one of my homeowner associations, I wanted my streets paved. They promised to do it in 2012. I came to them in 2013, when are you going to do it? They really, oh my God, silence on the other end, because I'm asking a hard question, and they didn't realize I had a letter in my hand saying they were going to do it. First, they denied trying to do it. So the city has 106 miles of roads they have to maintain, our professional management. You know how much they pave every year? About 1.5 miles. So it's going to take you more than 50 years with this professional, frugal management to pave the streets that Sedona is supposed to maintain. If you had the county, you'd be way better off, but if that's professional management, I hate to see unprofessional management.
Pete.
I'm pretty sure I said most of what I was looking for before, but I'm going to go back and just hit it one more time. I really do believe that the citizens need oversight into the budget. And we do have a budget commission in this town that is the citizen oversight, but there's a couple of council members on that budget commission, and I really think we need to go out into the community and find some people that, like Sandy said, are professionals, accountants, economics, that can come in and take a look at that and say, okay, just from a third-party view, this is what we think.
Sandy.
First of all, we pave more than 1.5 miles a year. We pave 4 to 5 miles a year. In terms of professional management, we already have found those people. They're on our staff. They're very good. So I don't, and as far as balancing the budget goes, no, we did not take 10 million out of the reserve fund I talked about. We took it out of the money we have saved. So the balanced budget, according to the state, means financial resources on hand. Yes, we have a capital expense fund that we put money into. We have surpluses every year, and it goes into the capital expense budget. And then when we want to spend it on a capital project, it comes out. That was where the $10 million came from. It did not come out of a reserve fund. We never even dipped into our reserve funds the whole time of the recession, the Great Recession. We never dipped into it.
Thank you. We're going to start with Pete on this one. The question is, how do you foresee the growth of Sedona being managed? And it's a two-part. And what precisely does sustainability mean to you in the context of what is possible in Sedona? Details, please. 1 minute.
Right. A lot of details.
So, when I first moved here, I thought this would be a great town for small businesses to open up and operate here. But if you look around at the town itself, there's not, this is on, right? There's not a lot of room, there's not a lot of office space for a lot of small business to run in. So I really think we're going to have to live with the fact that we are a tourist town. That's just the way it is. It's the business of our town. Sustainability is not something, just like quality, it's not something you can inspect into the process. Sustainability has to happen from the ground up. It has to happen with people not buying bottles of water in plastic, but instead, not buying small bottles of water, but buying gallons of water and reusing containers. That's one example of how sustainability needs to work. You need to do it from the ground up. You need to say, we're going to think about it with everything we do, instead of have somebody oversee what you've already done.
Tony.
You know, there's sustainability and there's preservation. The Chamber of Commerce would have you believe sustainable tourism is, as long as we don't have tourism, it's bumper to bumper. You know, if we have people crowding the rocks and they don't have a good experience here, this place used to be focused as one of the most spiritual places in the country, in the world actually. There's 2 positive energy places in the world, and I've never felt the energy from a vortex, but people have. You know, people should be able to come here and say, and exhale, and say, wow, Sedona. When I was first coming here up until the last few years, I'd come into town and like, oh, I'm home, I'd exhale. And now people come in and it's like they're bumper to bumper traffic. The tourists aren't going to have a good experience with bumper to bumper traffic. The businesses are going to have to advertise more because they're not going to get any return business. We want people to come to Sedona and fall in love with a place like we did. I fell in love with the town. I'm not in love with the way it is. I don't want it to continue. I don't want it to make it more sustainable. I don't want it to make it more paved. There's something called preservation and care for the land. And right now, you know, they just want to pave it. That's a Sedona in motion. Let's pave some more, and maybe we can pack some more people in here. That's not sustainability.
Sandy.
Would you repeat the question? It seemed like it was
Yes,
a lot
how do
longer
you
than that.
foresee the growth of Sedona being managed, and what precisely does sustainability mean to you in the context of what is possible in Sedona?
What is possible in Sedona? Almost anything is possible in Sedona. Sustainability is a tall order, and no one can talk about it in a minute. We are already managing in a sustainable fashion. We're hiring a sustainability coordinator to make sure we're doing even more, but we're already heading in that direction, quite frankly. And I'm sorry, I just get lost in the detail of that question, but we are all about sustainability, really. That's the underpinning of our community plan, and we're heading for that by hiring the sustainability coordinator. Recycling is certainly one way you have sustainability, but there's so many other components to it, really. There's power, there's electricity and sustainable power plants and all of that sort of thing. So there's so much we can do. Conserving water is a big one in Arizona because we've only got a limited amount of water here, so we have to be very careful with the way we manage our water. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start this question with Sandy, you get it back, so it's going to be you. What plans do you have to increase rental housing for our workforce? What plans do you have to increase rental housing for our workforce?
Well, for one thing,
excuse me, 1 minute.
Okay, well, we've lost we don't have much affordable housing here to start with because we are very, very low on housing stock of apartments. It's about 4% of our housing stock, it actually drops, and statewide it's about 22%, so we're in a bind to start with. So rental housing has been in the form of single-family homes that occupants share, and now with the short-term rentals taking over the town in large part, we have driven out some of those long-term rentals of homes. That's why I'm working with the state to make it possible for the city to manage short-term rentals better, and I believe we can get that done. It may not be a quick fix, but it does need to happen, and I really believe we can do it. There's a lot of interest at the state level in doing it already, so we are heading in that direction now with the state legislature.
Tony.
The short-term rentals and Airbnb are a problem. They are destroying our neighborhoods. we need to not wait for the state to take action on that. You know, the state says we'll penalize you. We need to say this is our town, we're going to do something about it. I think people should have the opportunity to rent out their home if they want. You know, if they want to rent out a room, if they live there. These people deciding that they're going to buy an investment house and plop a hotel down next door to you, I think is unacceptable. Now, we need to fight that, you know. I hate people saying, no, you can't. I don't believe in the word can't. There's a way. You know, we pressure our state representative enough that they're embarrassed by what they've done. Or we try and, you know, we find a house next to them and rent it out with a bunch of transients 5 days a week, a bunch of different people. It'll change. You know, these people say, oh, we can't, or the state says we can, or the city staff says, oh, we can't, and they're professionals, we gotta believe them. Bullpucky. You know, if I'm in charge, we're gonna get things done, and we're not going to take someone saying we can't and let them ruin our town or our neighborhood. I just think that there's been too much of that. Our professional staff says that, so we've got to believe them.
Pete.
Howdy. So, it's interesting that all three of us absolutely agree that we probably need to do something pretty strong about Airbnbs in our town. It's not a very big town, not a lot of houses, and a large percentage of them are now Airbnbs. My older boy is 28, he works here in town, and he lives in Cottonwood because he can't afford to live here in town unless he lives at our house, and he really doesn't want to do that. So, when I was his age, I couldn't afford to live in the same neighborhood as my parents. So the fact of the matter is, affordable housing has a lot to do with what you're capable of owning, what you're capable of paying for. And I don't think we should go out of our way to create affordable housing. The simple reason is that I came from Chicago, and I've seen what affordable housing looks like after a few years. It's really not a very pretty sight.
Tony, I'll start with you on this one, 1 minute. What do you see as your role in the challenges of climate change for Sedona? Water, fire, air quality, waste.
One of the things I touched on is really important is we need to have the city stop immediately with that injection well. We're polluting the ground, we don't know where the water's going. That's something we can do. We can just turn it off. You know, why that was allowed to go was it's a crime to me. It's just a crime. It's a crime against our land, it's a crime against the earth, it's a crime. The other crime we have going on is bumper-to-bumper traffic that's caused by the chamber advertising. You cut them off, maybe, you know, we'll do a 2-year experiment. We'll cut the chamber off for 2 years, and if it turns out I'm wrong, you know, that everything crashes, but if it turns out that as the study says, half the traffic doesn't stop in Sedona, and we get a higher quality visitor, which is what the chamber is claiming to do, because I tell you, when I talk to the realtors in town, they come in, our property value used to be the highest in Arizona. It's not anymore because people come in, look at this place, oh my God, it's beautiful, the houses are inexpensive. They come back on a weekend, they say, we're not going there. It's the air pollution that the tourists are generating, the trash that the tourists are generating, and the pollution we're putting in the ground. I mean, this is stuff that we've allowed to happen through active means.
Thank you. Pete.
So I mentioned the automatic traffic control system when I started. This was put in place in Los Angeles 4 months ago. In the first 30 days in Los Angeles, they reduced the traffic congestion by 12%, and they increased traffic flow by 16% in 30 days. Now, what does that have to do with environmental? The air quality in Los Angeles improved by 20% in the first 30 days. Why? Because they moved the cars back to home, back to work in a shorter period of time, and they got them turned off. It's the quickest, fastest thing we can do to improve our environment here.
Sandy.
Read the question again, please.
Yes, what do you see as your role in the challenges of climate change for Sedona? Water, fire, air quality, waste.
Okay, well, certainly, it's interesting. I hear somebody saying, well, nobody's going to come to Sedona again, it's so bad there. And then I'm saying, I'm hearing traffic congestion is out of hand. I guess somebody's coming. Yes, of course we need to, it has not been that bad since spring break, folks. Rolling spring break ended, and so did the traffic. So certainly air pollution, that has something to do with it. We don't have an air pollution problem that I know of here. We have clean water, clean air. I think that's pretty good. I do think we have to be very mindful of climate change. It definitely is happening. And so that's why we're interested in sustainability and protecting our environment. And we are very interested in doing that. It's the basis, as I said, of our community plan. we are always thinking of those types of things, solar and all that sort of thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Pete, let's start with you. 1 minute. I'm trying to get as many questions in as possible here, so that's why I'm limiting their time. Pete, what are your ideas for solving the traffic backup problems during the heavy tourist season? Maybe things like shuttles or other public transit option, or maybe some new ideas. Share with us, please.
Well, I mentioned the automatic traffic control system. It's really pretty simple here in Sedona. First of all, understand that all the traffic lights up in West Sedona are already conduited for an automatic traffic control system. It's already in place. It's just never been turned on because we've never really had the need up until the last couple of years. Basically what we would do is put in pedestrian control lights from the art barn all the way to the other side of Tlaquepaque and synchronize those lights so that they allow the traffic to flow for 2.5 minutes and then stop the traffic for 30 seconds and allow the pedestrians to cross. You can move 2,000 cars an hour through Uptown that way. You can go all the way from the art barn to the other side of Tlaquepaque and back, and all the way from the art barn to Mariposa and back in 2.5 minutes. That's a lot of traffic moving, and that's how you get rid of the traffic. And you do it for about $600,000. You Wi-Fi the lights together.
Tony.
I've been studying a lot of this stuff for many years, and I get to recite a lot of things off my head, which is kind of convenient when I'm giving a speech like this. As I said, half the town by the city's owns half the traffic doesn't even stop in town when they ping their cell phones. ADOT has done a survey on 89A. It gets more traffic right now than I-17. It's considered a failed highway from Sunset Drive to the Y, but what's the Y? So the problem is, now you can try paving the whole, and one of my vocal opponents says, we just need to pave more like Phoenix. Well, you're gonna put a 6-lane road or an 8-lane road in Sedona, what's that gonna do? I don't think you need to pave more. When you're in a hole, stop digging. Right now, we need to the city needs to stop subsidizing the chamber to advertise. We can use some of the chamber's money to go to, like the Historical Society, restore their buildings. It doesn't need to be spent on advertising for more tourists. It needs to be some of it, a very small percent. A very small percent needs to be spent on advertising, but it can on tourist-related, not on advertising, on tourist-related businesses. That can be the Historical Society, preserving buildings, making this a more attractive place instead of trying to cram more people into it. When you're in a hole, stop digging.
Sandy.
Read the question again. Oh, it didn't seem like that was the answer, but.
What are your ideas for solving the traffic backup problems during the heavy tourist season? Things like shuttles, maybe more public transit options, or some other ideas you might have.
Okay, well, we have just undertaken a transit study. We're beginning to undertake a transit study. We're definitely looking at transit as an option. We're going to start first with the uptown improvements, using medians and adding a lane. There's only 2 lights in uptown, so I'm not sure how many lights we could coordinate there. We're not talking about going, I heard, so 179 and uptown are the big congested areas. I thought that Pete said something about going from the art barn to somewhere else, but there's only 2 lights in that stretch. So I'm not sure what coordinating that is going to do. The other thing we're looking at is slip lanes at the Y, and that will help to move traffic through that area. But the uptown improvements will include medians and try to stop interference with traffic from pedestrians, so it'll control the pedestrian crossings more. We may look at underpasses, overpasses to help with pedestrian crossings. Okay, I've got to stop.
Thank you. We had planned to have this forum for about an hour. I have several questions. If it's okay with everybody, could I go for another 15 minutes? 15 minutes, hands up. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're on for a few more. Is that okay? Okay.
Only a few? Come on.
Only a few more? Okay. I will start this one with Tony. What do you think you and the council could do to limit noise from ATVs on Sedona's roads?
Oh, that's the easiest one ever. We've got we've got a K9 unit. We paid for the training of an equestrian unit. All we got to do is buy some noise meters and task our officers at these places, especially going uphill, to go after the motorcycles, go after these quads and off-road vehicles. You know, an easy thing, and the police department isn't doing it. I talked to a friend that is a retired APS officer. Half these quads and ATVs aren't running highway legal tires. All we got to do is get our noise meter and raise them up. You're done. Get highway legal tires. Oh, you're done. You know, we can enforce this stuff, but we're busy writing speeding tickets because there's more revenue. We can we have a good police force. We don't need to increase or decrease them, but the noise meters are a really easy solution that could quiet our town down. And, you know, the question is, do we want more tourists or do we want a pleasant experience for the residents and tourists? I vote for the best. You know, people come here for the spiritual nature. You can't get that if you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic on a noisy freeway with people bumping into you. We need to preserve this town, and the noise is one of the easiest things to fix. All we need is the will to do it.
Sandy?
Well, I'm not sure how you chase an ATV all over town with a noise meter and get a reading that means something. That doesn't sound reasonable to me at all. ATVs are legal in this state. They're street legal. It doesn't matter what kind of tires they have. They're street legal. Well, I'm sorry, we're going to have to agree to disagree, Tony. And so there isn't a whole lot we can do about ATVs. We have tried working with the owners of the businesses that rent ATVs, and we'll continue to do that. But there really isn't a whole lot we can do. By the time they get there, the police officer gets there, they're someplace else.
Pete?
Tony stole my answer. I agree with Tony. I think we need to be able to put a noise reduction on the ATVs, just like there is on your cars. The automobiles are clearly quieter. Everybody in this room can admit and agree. The automobiles, I drive a Jeep. My Jeep is a lot quieter than an ATV. So I think we should be able to have the ATV companies put an exceptional muffler on there to quiet those down.
Okay, this one is, we'll start with Sandy on this one. What is your vision for Sedona's future, and what does Sedona look like 50 years from now?
Wow.
I know, you're going to be here.
I'm not going to be here.
60 seconds.
Definitely not going to be here. Well, I would like it to look like the good, sustainable community we all want it to look like. I want it to stay at the natural beauty we all came here for, still around and visible for everyone, visitors and residents alike. I think we all want that. We want to be an efficient community. We want to be an effective community, and run well, of course, and based on sustainability. So we've got a lot of work to do to become more sustainable, and which is why, as I said, we're hiring a sustainability coordinator to work on that. But that's what I would like to see. I'd like to see plenty of dark skies and clean air and clean water and a guaranteed water supply for all of us.
Pete?
And so like Sandy, I won't be here in 50 years either. My little guy in the back will be mad then. Climate change is a real problem, and this is an area that we see violent changes in the weather because of climate change. We've all seen it this year, where we have an exceptionally heavy monsoon season, exceptionally early. And this is the kind of weather we're going to see going forward in Sedona, in the rest of the country. But because we already start with an extreme weather circumstance, we're going to see even more extreme weather circumstance. I don't know how much we can change, because the bowling ball is going down the path already. I don't think there's much that we can do about it. What we can do is, try to have the small impact that each of us can have, recycling and not be wasting the materials that we have.
Tony?
We have a choice. We have a choice with this election. It's an important choice. We can continue on the same path we're going, where they say they're solving a problem, they hire another person. We're not going to take any action towards sustainability, but we'll do a study and we'll hire a sustainability manager. We need to look at what this place is. I don't know how many of you have been to Tombstone, Arizona, but they still have wooden sidewalks. If the people in charge of Sedona right now were in charge of Tombstone, it'd be paved and be a freeway through the center of town. There are things you need to preserve. There are small town values you need to preserve. And preserve doesn't mean growth. You know, there's a little exponential number, 8% a year, it doubles in 8 years. You know, do we want only growth 8% a year when 89A is already considered a failed highway by ADOT? That's not my imagination, that's an ADOT study that the city doesn't like talking about. You know, sustainability is to try and stop things when you say enough. But some people are motivated by greed. I've never been motivated by money, but some people it's never enough. You know, how much more can we get into? How many more lanes can we do? You know, that's not sustainability.
Thank you, Tony. Let's start with Tony on this one. Even before your recommendations may go into effect, whatever your platform has been, what is your empathy for residents who have been delayed or inconvenienced by the rising tide of heavy traffic in Sedona? 1 minute.
You know, I got a letter this week from a gentleman, and I asked him if he could read it, but because of all the bullies in town, he said, no, you can tell what I'm saying, but you can't use my name. And he's an older gentleman, he's been in Sedona for 40 years, he says, you know, if the town continues like this, I'm gonna have to move. And, you know, we have to look at, are we running it for a tourist town? We're the voters, we're the residents, it's not just a tourist town. That's one of the things that frightened me, Justin Clifton. Sedona's a tourist town. Traffic is our destiny. No, Sedona's my home, it's your home. I don't believe traffic should be our destiny. I believe we should preserve this place and make it, you know, I love my home. I've been in my house, not only, I've been in Sedona 27 years, my house for 20. I love my home. You're driving me out of it, not only me, but some other people. The procedures, the process, the staff, the city, and the Chamber of Commerce have been doing are driving people out of their homes. You know, I want this place to be preserved so someone comes and falls in love with it like I do. The tourists come and fall in love with it like we did and get Red Rock fever. No one's talking about Red Rock fever now, they're talking about the traffic. You know, it used to be Red Rock fever.
Thank you. Pete.
Well, I did come back and beat a dead horse, but I talked about the traffic plan, talked about how fast we can get it up and running. 2 months. It can be up and running in 2 months. It would make a difference. How long did it take LA? 30 days after it was up. So, for people who live here that's looking for a change right now, that's the change right now.
Sandy.
Tourists aren't going to go away, whether the chamber advertises or not, frankly. They're not going away. There's a million ways that people hear about Sedona. They've been hearing about it for years. Everybody knows about it. That's not the one thing that's going to take it away, and neither is a couple of timed lights. So we don't have severe congestion 24/7. We have it at certain times of the year and certain times of the day. And yes, we can manage it better. That's what we're trying to do. Can't do it without continued funding. So I'm sorry that some people think we're doing such a terrible job, but you know, I think we're doing a good job. We have professional management, we have professional studies, we have a professionally done plan, and to say that something's going to change it, for one thing, ADOT still owns most of the roads, the highways in this town. You aren't going to get them to do anything in 60 days. We can do some things in Uptown, but as I said, Uptown is part of the problem, not all of the problem.
Thank you. This question, I'll put to Pete first. Why do you want this job? The pay is low. It is a thankless job. The critics tend to be harsh. The meetings are mostly long and boring, on and on and on. Why do you want this job?
I like this. Great question.
Pay is low? Tell me it's I want to serve. It's just that simple. I want to serve the community. I think I can do a good job. I think I can solve some of the problems. I think I can gather the people who live here, the smart, intelligent people who live here, and come up with a real community plan done by the community to solve our problems. And I want to serve. I think I can make a difference.
Sandy.
Well, the community plan was done by residents. It was a citizen committee that did the community plan. So there you have that. Why do I want the job? I love the job. I actually do, in spite of nights like tonight when we're hearing a lot of complaints. I love problem solving. I love negotiating. I'm meeting tolerant That's important. I'm also panic impaired. I don't panic easily. And I'm very hard to insult, by the way, so give it your best shot, but it's not going to work. So I do love the job. It's a challenge always, but it's also gratifying, very gratifying to be able to get things done. That's what I like to do, is get things done. I believe this council has done it, and in more ways than one. I don't have time to tell you the details.
Thank you. Tony?
This is my home, and I love my home. There's people that have come to me and said, can you do something? You know, will you do something? And somebody has to do something. It's not a job I would choose. I got plenty of hobbies. I got plenty of things to do. I never get bored. But somebody had to do something. In the direction it was going, you know, I think that this place would be paved, it'd be bumper to bumper, and, you know, myself and some other people I've talked to said, I don't want to live there anymore. It's a crime when you've got a town this beautiful, with this much potential, and we're letting people, you know, all we need is another 4 years of the same thing. You've seen how much it changed, and not only me with that view, many people have told me how much it's changed in the last 4 years. Somebody had to do something. I'd rather restore a car. I never get bored, but I can't know what I know. I can't know what I know about the waste, the abuse of the citizens, the people that are unhappy here and do nothing. I just couldn't.
Thank you. Okay, I said we'd say 15 minutes. We are really right at the end of our time. What I'd like to do is now go to closing statements. Each of the candidates have 2 minutes to tell you exactly why they want to be your mayor. And we will begin with Tony Tonsich. Tony.
Gee, I think I've been here before. You know, you've heard why. You've heard, you know, it's my home. You know, people say it's a tourist town, we've got to keep developing for tourists. I disagree. People say we have a professional staff. I haven't seen that. I've seen an overstaff. I've seen where, you know, like a lot of governments, well, we need a new position. We've got a community, we then want to hire a sustainability manager, right. We've had a business development manager, but we've made it as difficult as possible for businesses. I've got businesses complaining to me too, not just residents. You know, I need to get a permit to put a sign in front of my building. You know, my fees are outrageous. I've got, you know, the too many city inspectors climbing up my you-know-what. You know, there's all these people, you know, we've got 14 people in planning and community development. I mean, for a town of 10,000, is that much building going on? Are there that many roads? The 2 main roads are state highways, as Sandy said. You're not going to do anything with them, but we're going to try and pile more people in and do more lanes. I mean, this is my home, and, you know, it is a thankless job. I'm not looking forward to it. You know, but somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it. You can't keep letting it go the way it is. If you people like, you know, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the answer to your question. If you like the way it's been going, you know, obviously vote for Sandy. If you want a politician, Pete's a politician. I'm not a politician. I just happen to love this town. You know, it's your choice. That's why you want to vote for me as mayor. You know, and people say, oh, we wish we wouldn't have a politician in here. We wish you'd have somebody honest. I won't lie to you. God, I'm sick of the lies I'm being told by the chamber, by the city, you know, all the things that are going on. Those things just fry me. You know, oh, we're doing this. You know, I talked about, oh, the Chamber of Commerce provides 60, 70, whatever they want to say of the income of the city. They don't. It's maybe 30, 35%. You know, all these things are falsehoods. And, you know, and I had the time. I mean, it's like, okay, fine, you know, I could restore another car. I could go babysit my grandkids. Both of those things are far too much fun, but I have the ability. I'm not going to take what the staff said and just nod my head. No, I'm going to want it done right. So that's why I'm running.
Thank you, Tony. Sandy Moriarty.
I hope she's strong.
Okay, well, I got bad news for Tony. It's not a 4-year term. It's a 2-year term.
There you go.
2-year term. Yeah. So I am not a liar in spite of what he says. I think a lot of you know that. You know me. I've been here a long time. I've been here 46 years. I know many of you and the town very well. It sounded pretty close to a personal attack to me, but I will let it go. As I said, I'm hard to insult, but he did his best and he didn't do it. Again, I stand for sound financial management, traffic improvement, sustainable tourism, protecting our natural beauty, more diverse and affordable housing, and changing state law to better manage short-term rentals. As a matter of fact, last year, we are effective with the legislature. We got them to pass a bill that says it will change the way short-term rental tax is collected. It'll be collected by all of the online lodging marketplaces and not by the homeowners. So we did everybody a favor, including the cities and the state, because we'll collect more revenue that way. This year, I'm trying to get a state law changed. No, we can't just tell a legislator that we want to do it a different way. That doesn't work. So, but local control is important, and especially when it relates to our budget. We have a track record of balanced budgets, a strong reserve fund, no deficits, and we've invested in the community. I ask for your vote, and please visit my website for more information, mayorsandy.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Pete Conrad.
I like panic impaired. Can I use that?
Why don't you give me credit?
There you go. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber for hosting this event. It's not easy to do. We all appreciate your efforts and your volunteerism. I hope that by coming here tonight, you have learned a little bit more about me and who I am. In the last couple months, I've learned a lot about Sedona and the people who live here. Meeting with the citizens of Sedona, I've learned that there's a great talent pool of professionals, doctors, lawyers, engineers, and scientists. And I'm going to ask for the support and help of those people to help make Sedona a better place. Neighbors helping neighbors for our neighborhood. If you don't like the direction our town is in, I am your candidate for change. We can do better, I can do better, and I think we deserve better. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much for letting me hear you. And make sure you vote in August. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's give the candidates a round of applause. And thank you, audience, for all of your questions. I know that we had a stack of them here, and I'm getting waved at in the back. Yes, I've got it on my list. The candidates, I'm sure, will be hanging around for a while after we adjourn, and you're welcome to speak with them. I'm sure there are other opportunities in the next few weeks as election gets underway for you to continue to talk with the candidates for mayor. Also, on next Thursday night at 5:30 will be our forum on the Sedona Home Rule, which is on the ballot. We will have the proponents and the opponents of Home Rule speaking, along with a presentation on Home Rule itself. And that will be held at Yavapai College Sedona Center at 5:30. Also remember, Election Day is August 28th. The last day to register to vote is July 30th, so that's just around the corner. If you need to or want to change your party registration or update your address, you needed to do that by then also. Early ballots will be mailed out the week of August 1. Completed ballots can be returned by mail or dropped off at an election location in Sedona. If you're registered as a non-designated independent, you can vote. When you go to your polling place, you will be asked to designate which party you want, and if you're an early permanent voter, you should have received a form or will receive a form from the county elections office, which will allow you to select the party ballot you wish to vote for. The ballots will not be mailed to independent voters unless the elections office receives a form from you indicating your ballot choice. So you have to take the initiative to get the ballot you want. Also, if you have any questions about your registration or any early ballot questions, please go to the Yavapai County or Coconino County election website. We do have some information about that in the back. And remember to vote. That's most important. I like to say voting is people power. Your vote does count, and thank you very much for coming this evening on behalf of the League of Women Voters. Have a rainy evening. How's that? Thank you.